Hello and welcome to this week's edition of CTN Community Update. The calendar may say January, but it looks and feels a lot more like spring at Bunker Hills. This week, the golf course opened its driving range to the public, its earliest opening ever. CTN's Jordan Rylance has more on the unusual winter site.
It's January.
Basically doing this because I can today.
In Minnesota.
The allure of golf in January, this is a first for me.
While most Midwestern golfers head south for the winter to get a few rounds of golf in, these Minnesota golfers look no further than the driving range here at Bunker Hills.
Minnesota golf can't beat it.
You never know when you're getting an opportunity to be able to do something kind of fun and special.
Bunker Hills opened their driving range on January 19th to a balmy 41 degrees and no shortage of eager golfers lining up to take their best shot in the snow.
Thought we'd take advantage of the nice weather here and enjoy the beautiful company and the beautiful weather. Can't beat that. Minnesota.
We redesigned our range a couple years back and with this type of thing in mind where we could get to it easily if there was an opportunity to open it up for brief moments during the wintertime.
And for avid golfers like Dan Buschow,
I like to think that I can play this game a little bit.
the bragging rights begin where the snow meets the grass.
I'm going to send a picture to my friends out in California and say, hey, get ready because I'm coming.
For CTN Community Update, I'm Jordan Rylance.
The driving range is expected to remain open through the weekend. As for collecting all of the golf balls on the range, Anderson hopes the projected rain in the forecast will help melt some of the snow so they can get the machine out to gather all the golf balls. But if not, he says they will collect them all by hand. Our January thought may be giving golfers something to smile about, but it's a different story for those who want to hit the ice. Due to deteriorating ice conditions, the city has closed all 3 of its outdoor skating rinks until further notice. They are located at Thorpe Park, Wintercrest Park, and Riverview Park. If ice conditions improve, the rinks could reopen until about mid-February. There is one outdoor rink that remains open in Coon Rapids. That's the special refrigerated rink located at the Coon Rapids Ice Center. When it's not being used by hockey groups or private rentals, there is free community hockey time. To find out the schedule, just log on to Coon Rapids Ice Center's website. Senior safety was top of mind in Anoka this week during a special forum put on by public safety officials.
59% of elderly violent crime victims reported being victimized at or near their home.
Anoka County Attorney Tony Palumbo shared some important information about seniors and crime. Palumbo was joined by Anoka County Sheriff James Stewart and Anoka Police Chief Eric Peterson for a safety forum to help give seniors some tips on making their homes safer. They also encourage those in attendance to call 911 if something doesn't seem right.
I didn't want to call because I know you're busy, you got more important things to do. And that's not what we want. We want information going back and forth, and if something doesn't seem right, we want that to occur. So we want a good relationship with our seniors and empowering them to call and report suspicious activity.
The Senior Safety Neighborhood Forum was held in memory and honor of 94-year-old Albert Lowline, the Anoka man allegedly killed by a repeat felon who burglarized his home back in November. However, authorities say compared to the general population, seniors have a much lower chance of becoming the victim of a violent crime. Volunteers will hit the streets next week to try to determine how many people are homeless in the area. The one-day point-in-time count will take place on January 26th and include many locations throughout Anoka County, including homeless shelters, city streets, and other known homeless encampments. This year's count will have a particular focus on impacting youth homelessness. Last year, more than 900 youth were identified as homeless across the state, including a dozen here in Anoka County. The annual count is required by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. The local chapter of the League of Women Voters is sponsoring an event next week to give residents a chance to meet their legislators. The meeting will take place on Wednesday, January 25th, beginning at 6 p.m. in the Legacy Room at Anoka Ramsey Community College. There will be an introduction of participating legislators, followed by a question and answer period, and finally a brief wrap-up. Refreshments will be served. No registration is required. Coon Rapids has laid out some of its priorities for the 2017 legislative session. Topping the list, approved by the City Council this week, is to secure state funding for an overpass at the double railroad tracks on Hanson Boulevard. The city also wants a 5-year extension for the tax increment financing district in Port Riverwalk to help recover costs associated with land acquisition. Another priority is obtaining funding to add a 3rd lane on Highway 10 in Coon Rapids and other improvements in the Highway 10-169 corridor. And lastly, the city supports initiatives to complete connections and add capacity along Highway 610, including a full interchange at Coon Rapids Boulevard. A proposed development project adjacent to the North Star commuter rail station took another step forward this week. On Tuesday night, the City Council approved the station area plan for the North Star Riverdale Transit Station. The plan includes 4 apartment buildings and a commercial site. The first phase of the project would consist of market rate and mixed income apartments with a small amount of retail space. A second phase would add senior housing. The council's biggest concern is figuring out a way to deal with all the traffic the project would bring.
We like how they've moved it back. We're okay that maybe it's a little bit taller. It's still going to have to come back for design approvals, but we need to figure out this traffic because we can't exacerbate that neighborhood's problems of getting onto Northdale by adding 400 units of housing, which are going to be even more cars.
The city is currently working with the developer to address traffic flow and access concerns. Several options are being researched and a solution is expected before the developer comes back to the city with formal site plans. The project by Sherman Associates will be located on 15 acres of land between the North Star commuter rail station and the Riverdale Commons Shopping Center. The sanitary sewer relining program will officially wrap up this year. On Tuesday night, the City Council awarded a contract for this year's work in the amount of $831,000. Lining is being done in older areas of town where roots are intruding the clay tile pipe, which was installed in the 1960s and 70s. The lining program for the sanitary sewer system began in 2008. The city is in the process of creating a formal Goose management plan and is seeking input from the public. An open house is planned on Tuesday, January 24th from 5 to 7 p.m. in the City Council chambers. You can learn more about the draft plan, ask questions, and provide written feedback. The Goose Management Plan, required by the DNR, will include guidelines for deciding on a sustainable population and how the city will maintain an acceptable population within a given area. The formal plan will go to the City Council for approval in the spring. All right, that's going to do it for us. You can get out to Bunker Hills this week and hit those golf balls. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you back here again next week.